Hey, Christoph here. Here's the first draft of the expert opinions comments feature for Wallet Scrutiny. Actually a second draft, but I'll just call it the first one since that's what I said. So Wallet Scrutiny has these security reviews. So for example, there might be a page about a simple Bitcoin wallet. I see all kinds of security review information, maybe a few other things. And the idea is to also invite the community to also post their own security reviews. We don't want people to say, I love this wallet, it's so amazing. Ideally, people post their perspectives and evaluations of security aspects of this wallet. So the community opinions are embedded here at the bottom of each page in between the application test results, like the bottom of the actual content of the page that was uniquely created for the security review, and above the standard content like the disclaimer. By default, there will be no opinions, right? Then once there's one opinion, it might look a little bit like this. So one opinion. Opinions have this sentiment of like this, I think this security wallet is good, or I think it's a bit mixed, or I think it's bad. So a poster can post these things. And here, in this example, we can see it was posted 7 minutes ago. There's some text. It was ellipsed because it's too long. This is by an approved reviewer named Roberto. And he likes it. So this is all powered by Nostr, which introduces certain complexities and also has benefits. So we'll get into that here. So let's look at a more complex setup here. So here we have 11 opinions. Now I can switch between approved and all opinions. So if I don't care, comments like this wallet sucks or something, I can go to the approved ones. These are by Wallet Scrutiny admins approved or evaluated as being very relevant. So here's one person. This one has 10 likes, 2 dislikes, and 3 reposts. I believe the stuff is pretty much built into how Nostr works. So it's just a, a type of event that's being pulled in and counted here. I don't think it's necessarily super important for Wallet Scrutiny, but it's there, so it might as well. Here is a comment, a negative comment by someone who has not filled out their user profile, or one hasn't been found on the relays that Wallet Scrutiny pulls data from. So in this case, there would be an abbreviated pub key showing. Maybe there's a way you can click here and search other relays. I'm not really sure, but we have to assume that at some point pub keys will be shown. Here's a reply that's to another comment. So let's say someone wrote something about leaking the IP address or some other issue. The developer, who also here is custom tag developer, then can reply to this one. It's a common interaction, I think, that you want on these types of pages. So there are a few different ways that this type of reply can be shown. This is one. In this case, the user would be able to click this text here to see the original, or potentially load the original in line. An alternative is this type of visual where the comment that's being replied to is shown in line, or it's kind of inset with a slightly different treatment. Here, there's also the idea of threads. So a comment or an opinion might be a reply to, that's also a reply to a thread. So it gets multi-layered. This is how this could be shown. We'd have to figure out if I press the thread or the reply to, where would I go? Would I go to a new screen or an overlay that shows the whole the whole series of posts, or would I really just load in the one parent or the one root of this conversation? Here's another example here's another one. I trimmed a few here in the middle because the page just got too long. Sorry. Here is an example of how we could treat images. I think it would be extremely ugly if someone has an image link in their content and it would be just shown and filled the whole screen width. So ideally we can pull those out and maybe have a small image gallery. And I think Twitter and other services pretty much do something similar here. So I would click this one and maybe get a modal. In this case, maybe there's someone who does a security review and they find something in the settings that's not great, or they got an error, or maybe something else that they really want to show visually here. So that'd be a good thing to have. In this mockup here, there were also 3 comments hidden due to guideline violations. At the top, it says view our guidelines. Since this is not just a general purpose commenting system, and I guess every commenting system needs to have some guidelines around how, just nasty language and this type of behavior is treated, and also kind of how, kind of what here in this context we're looking for security reviews, like other types of comment systems might look for more casual comments, right? So here I have the option to view, and in that case, those would be loaded in below if I wanted to see those hidden comments. And it might end up being stuff like this here, where it's just like, okay, this doesn't add anything to the conversation. Maybe those would end up being hidden. So this is that's what the comments would look like. Now we also have the creating a comment. So here is a series of states. So by default, it just says add your opinion. Once I'm logged in, I can also log out of the commenting system again. Then if I click add my opinion and I'm not logged in, then I get a brief reminder here about the security, kind of what we're looking for here, that this is about security review of this particular wallet with just a couple of tips, maybe a link to methodology, maybe a link to community guidelines or something like that. If I want to log in, I can do that via connecting a tool like Albi. This is the preferred option. That's why it's filled button here. Or I can enter a private key. And there's a link here to associated risks. So in the text, it explains those 2 options. And there's a link to associated risks because ideally people just use these key managers. So it's something we can encourage here. Then here, if I enter my private key, then I don't have a key. Or if I want to register, then I go to the registration. Here, I'm not sure if we need to show something before this, or if this is enough, but here's an explainer that Nostr is being used. This is your unique private key. Copy it, keep it in a safe place. And then I copy it, the continue gets enabled, I continue. And I'm not sure if profile creation, if you want to outsource that to a different tool. Like here it says, there might be better services that do profile creation really well, that also have these, as it's NIP05 or whatever they're called, addresses. But if we want to handle it internally, then you enter your name, a bit about yourself, link to a profile, image, that's better. I save it. There's a link to a service to use for profile images in case people don't have any. And then I can save it, and then I get to this posting state. Now it shows my image here and my name. And copy here is not accurate. Can remove this real quick. That needs to change, but I basically enter my opinion. I can choose sentiment here, positive, neutral, negative. I'm not sure how complex you want to make this input field, if it's really just text, or if you want to do with Markdown, where you can kind of do a, before and after, or if you want to support things like mentioning people with some type of custom inline, UI. I think it got pretty complex. Maybe it's best to just keep it simple, at least at the beginning. Then I pick something here, enter it, post it. If there might be an evaluation necessary if someone writes something horrible or extremely short, 1 word or so, to maybe confirm that people are okay with it, or maybe not allow people to post it if it's completely horrible. That's kind of up to decision, right? Then opinion was posted, and then ideally it instantly just pops in exactly where the user was seeing this form. So they instantly get that feedback, or at least have a loading state until it was seen and confirmed by any relays. And then you can update your opinion, make changes, and that's kind of it. Okay, so I think this is not necessarily, because of the nature of Nostr, there's all this stuff around discovering relays, figuring out where, let's say, some profiles data is actually stored on, making all these small calls, like let's say, I add mentioned something here in a copy, that profile is ideally being retrieved as well. So there could be a ton of calls happening here on the front end if there's no caching or anything else happening. So it can get quite complex, and it'll be a decent amount of development work, I think. But that's kind of what we're dealing with. But I also think it would be kind of worth it to make a pretty good experience here, because if this is a really tight, solid UI for these opinions, people will also take it more serious. If they feel like, this is really well polished, it supports all the Nostr features, you can like, dislike, comment, reply, repost, all these things. But for now, this is kind of, I'm sure I'm missing various things about Nostr, because it's also the first time I'm designing anything for it, and it's quite intricate. So I would love to get your feedback on it. So let me know.